We've learned how to access private variables in a class using getters and setters, but we haven't discussed why we might want to do this. Well, the reason is that we have much more flexibility in a method, which a getter or setter is. Inside of a method, we can create conditions that determine whether a value can be set or not, or get or not. This is what I mean. First, let's create a class called math class. Let's type public class math class. And inside of this math class, let's have two private variables of type int called numerator and denominator. And let's create getters and setters for both of them. So let's have a private int called numerator, and denominator. Hopefully I spelled that correct. Now let's create getters and setters for both of these. First, let's make one for the numerator called public void set numerator. It's going to take in an int num. Let's just call it n for number. And we're going to set numerator equal to n. Let's copy this and make the same exact thing for the denominator. A public void, in this case, set denominator. It's going to take in a value of n, and then it's going to set the denominator equal to n. Great, we have two setters for the numerator and denominator. Now let's create some getters. They're both going to be of type int, public int get numerator, and this is going to return the value of the numerator. And now let's create one for the denominator. Public int get denominator, hopefully that's spelled correctly, and this is going to return the value of the denominator. At the moment, any value can be assigned to the denominator using the denominator method, but what if we wanted to prohibit the setting of a value of 0? And the reason we would want to do this is to avoid any errors in the future, because trying to divide by 0 is not what you want to do. So inside of our set denominator method, let's create a condition that prevents the setting of 0. So in our set denominator method, let's check if n is equal to 0. Let's print a message to the console saying, you can't have a denominator of 0. Pick again. And let's take this, let's create an else statement saying, if n is not equal to 0, you could pass, you're good, you're set. So let's assign the value of n to the denominator. Let's also create the same condition inside of the get denominator method, just in case a 0 somehow managed to get in there. So let's just copy this, put it in the set denominator method. Sorry, the get denominator method. Paste that. In this case, if the denominator is 0 for some reason, say, you can't have a denominator of 0. Pick again. And if the denominator is not 0, you're good. You're clear. You're all ready for mathematical calculation. So we're going to return the value of denominator. And this method is still asking for a return type. It's saying not all code paths return a value. So if the denominator is 0, it's going to tell the programmer you can't have a denominator of 0, but it still needs to return a value because it is a return type. You can't have a return type not return a value. So instead of returning 0, we're just going to return 1, just to avoid any exceptions or errors that might occur. So let's go into our main method. Let's create an instance of the math class. Math class MC is a new math class. And let's try and assign the value of MC dot set numerator or set denominator. Let's try and make it 0. Let's see what happens. It says you can't have a denominator of 0. Pick again, which is what we wanted to say. So if we change this to like a 1 or 11, it will successfully assign the denominator a value of 11. And this is one of the many benefits of getters and setters in C#. It allows you to have a much higher specificity of the conditions of which allow a certain value to be assigned.